Hey guys, I thought I'd talk about abortion and the moral premises and the moral challenges. I've actually covered this before in different videos on a different channel. But essentially the premise of all morals comes from property ownership, okay, if you didn't know this. So for example, a woman owns her body. So she has the right to determine how it's treated, what is put into it, yada yada. Well, if you're pregnant, you've got another body in you, and that body belongs to something else, some other entity. So by definition, one way of looking at it is that you cannot, if you're pregnant, get an abortion because it's wrong. Because that entity has the same self-ownership rights that you have. If self-ownership is immoral, then it must be followed. There's if ownership is moral, it must be followed, and if self-ownership is real, then it's an extension of that moral, so you must extend it out to anyone who has a self. Okay. Now the argument of where self begins, well, people say, oh, it's when this happens in an embryo, this happens in an egg, but you got to remember, even sperm cells are alive, so there's no point that the life continuum stops. So there's always some entity which is self-motivating, and whether it's a sperm cell or whether it's an egg which starts to divide with the new DNA that comes from the sperm. So, you know, the idea of abortion clinics is a really difficult one to morally untangle. I don't know. But what I do know is misinformation or trying to influence a choice one way or the other to have or not to have an abortion is immoral, unless the information you're giving is just information with no particular bias towards or against having an abortion, which is the only ethical thing I think you can do. The only moral thing as well that I think you can do in that situation is just to give quality information, and this would include experiences and what people have experienced doing both sides of these things, worst and best case scenario, and you would meet these people and know them. I think that would be the best outcome. Ultimately though, let's swap the genders. Is it right for a man to kill his own sperm? I mean, his life force as well, is it right, or is it moral? Can he do that? Should that be illegal? It's the same moral issue, but I think that our society has already made its judgment on that, which is sperm is looked at as a commodity that is very, very low value. I mean, you do have the, sperm donorship sort of thing going, but generally speaking, it's not valued. So, like pretty much everything male, it's the disposable male thing. But, yeah, so in that way, I think maybe if it's more on that side, if you were just to extend the morals or not the morals, but the attitudes that society already has, maybe if it's, only a week old or something, it shouldn't be a problem. But that's not to say it's the moral thing to do, but rather it's a continuance of the cultural values at the time. Yeah, morally it's this nightmarish situation. It's very hard for me to try and figure out what would be the right thing to do in that situation. Alright, cheers guys, thank you, bye.